Hi, welcome to Life Coaching on the Move podcast. I am Dawn Fiske, your host, life coach, trainer and speaker. I am so pleased that you're here listening to this episode. I think we're on about episode 40 now. This week's episode, I am focusing on a really good, confident body language and giving you tips and techniques for you to try out in your everyday lives in order for you to improve your body language and to see how by doing so it actually changes how you feel inside. It actually, even if you're dying inside and terribly nervous and lacking in confidence, by acting confidently and using some good confident body language, it can make you actually feel more confident inside. So I'm giving you tips and techniques there. If you are new to the podcast, then welcome to this kind of community we've got here. As I've mentioned, there are many past episodes. There are around about 40 past episodes for you to find and listen to on all sorts of different subjects. I tell stories of my own experiences, my own learnings, and how I've developed and evolved and how I've used these things. And I also use lots of stories from many other clients that I've coached in the past, never ever revealing names. So I make it come alive, I make it come feel real live examples from which we can all learn, really. I also have lots on the website, so if you're new, do visit the website www.milestone-coaching.co.uk, and on there you'll find all sorts of different things. There's a blog that you can follow if you want. There's free workshops if you're local to Hampshire in the UK that I put on at different times. There are some online programs for sale. There's a short one on time management. Both are offer prices at the moment, and there's also a much longer one, a 7-module program on stress management. Once you have purchased either of those programs, they are yours. You download them. They're yours to do at your leisure, at your own pace, and to revisit when you want to, and so on. They're full of practical tips and strategies and techniques that you can use. It's a very practical. It's not a theory-based thing where you get a certificate at the end to say you've been through it. It's not like that. It's not supposed to be academic. It's supposed to be really practical. If you are a manager and you think it would either of them or both be useful for a team member or two, then feel free, because they can do it at their pace, their own pace, maybe in work time in the boardroom or something like that, or in their own time. If they're struggling, it can be a real support that you may not feel you can give, or it may be to complement the support you're giving them. I just also wanted to say that next week's episode, I'm hoping, if we don't go into complete lockdown with the virus at the moment, but I'm hoping that I will have a guest on next week's podcast episode, and it is all going to be focusing. She is a nutritionist by profession, expert nutritionist. We used to work together in a medical spa, and she is going to be talking about the power of nutrition on our well-being and how it can be helpful or a hindrance depending on our approach to our nutrition. And we'll be giving you some tips there as well, perhaps on how nutrition can help stress, for example. So do subscribe and follow the podcast. The last thing before we crack into this episode is to say, if you find it helpful, then please tell your friends about it. If there's somebody in your life that you think, they could really benefit from this, please share it on, or put it on your social media, or help them download it. Lots of people still don't know how to find podcasts, or how to download podcasts and subscribe, or how to listen to them, by what means. So if I know you do, so just help them along a little bit, and get them all downloaded and subscribed so that they can listen to all of the key subjects at their leisure. And who knows how helpful that can be for them. It really can be. I am getting more and more comment from people that have found particular episodes so relevant that it's almost been as if I've been talking to them, apparently, which is lovely to hear. If you are a regular listener, then you are so welcome. I'm so glad that you've come back. Thank you for your commitment and your loyalty as always. As I have said previously once or twice, if any of you feel that one-to-one coaching with me would be helpful to work on one specific area for you, tailored to you, then drop me an email, dawn@milestone-coaching.co.uk. Geography is not a barrier. You can be in the States, Australia, wherever you want, wherever you are, because we now have Zoom, FaceTime and all sorts of other technology. So geography is not a barrier. And I work all sorts of hours, so it wouldn't matter the time difference either. So if there is anything I can help you with at all on a one-to-one basis, then please do not hesitate to make contact. I think that's all of the admin. Let's now just crack on to this week's episode, all about improving your body language to ooze confidence. I hope it's helpful. Today I thought I would focus on one specific area in order to grow your confidence. This is a life coaching podcast. It's motivational, inspirational, and all about your well-being. But in particular, it's mostly about confidence. Because as I said before, confidence is the foundation of everything we do or don't do. And I firmly know that by working with hundreds of clients, that if we build the confidence, everything else slots into place. So it doesn't matter what clients come to me about, whether it's weight issues, communication issues, issues with their manager, issues with their team, not fulfilling their goals, fed up, stuck in a crossroads, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is. When we strip down a layer or two, there's usually an issue with confidence. And once we work on that confidence and build up their self-belief and their self-esteem, the rest often just falls into place. So our confidence really is the make or break of everything we do or don't do. Because of course, lack of confidence will mean we will hold ourselves back because we don't believe in ourselves enough, or we haven't got the courage enough to push ourselves forward, get out of our comfort zones and have a go with new things or new people, whatever, because we lack that confidence. So if there were one gift that I would give every child at christenings, it wouldn't be silver bracelets or anything like that. It would be a little, if I could bottle it, a little bottle of confidence for them for life. Because it really, really, really is at the core of everything. So that's why I'm so passionate about it as a subject. If on this podcast I can give you tips for you to grow your confidence, then I won't know who you are, and I won't probably find out about your successes and where your life has gone as a result. But I quietly know that if we do that, it will have an impact, a great impact, a positive influence over your life. So I hope that I can do that with you. Now, in previous episodes, we have focused largely on what we are saying in our head, in our internal dialogue, that chatterbox, and changing what that chatterbox says to ourselves so that it says confident things. It says encouraging, empowering, and helpful words to us that will affect how we feel, and how we feel will affect what we do. So one key thing that we have to do in order to grow our confidence is definitely change what we're saying in our heads when we talk to ourselves all day long. We've got to stop criticizing ourselves, stop chipping away at things, and instead be a friend or a manager or a coach and encourage ourselves, believe in ourselves, etc. And if you haven't already heard those, if you're new to this podcast, then please go back and revisit some of the old podcasts episodes, particularly the first few. Well, actually I would say all of them, but then I'm biased. But certainly the first few, because they outline predominantly what I believe and get the foundations in place. So the mindset and the internal chatter is huge. It's so crucial. I've also, in one of the episodes, talked at length about having more confident communication skills, using more confident language, so that you're not putting yourself down within conversations with other people, because people treat us the way whatever they reflect back what we're giving out in life. So if we are putting ourselves down, or if we are peppering in amongst our sentences self-doubting words, or words that put us down and them up on pedestals and things like that, they chip away at us. If we put ourselves down in our language, in our own interpretation of ourselves, we're feeding those thoughts to other people. So whether it's strangers that you're meeting, whether it's to your team or your managers or your colleagues and bosses at work, whether it's to your customers, I even hear it, parents doing it, knocking themselves, criticizing themselves, putting their own confidence down and their own abilities down in front of their children, and that's teaching their children and role modeling to their children. So we're communicating with people all the time. We're never not communicating. So be careful of what you say. Don't put yourself down. Don't apologize for yourself. Don't minimize everything that you do or your abilities and your strengths to others, because they will treat us that way. So if you've been doing that in your teams, and peers and colleagues at work or at college or at school, others will start to treat us in the same way, because that's what you're putting out to the world. So if you haven't listened to that episode, go and find that episode as well, about strong communication skills, saying helpful things, strong things, clear communication, confident communication, and effective communication. They're all really, really important. They're all very related, but it's choosing the right words and how just one word can have a huge difference by tweaking them and changing them. So that's another string to your bow in terms of how you feel about yourself, because don't forget, when you're talking to the outside world in a nice, strong, confident manner, your subconscious is hearing that as well, because you're also talking to yourself when you're externally communicating with others. Your subconscious will hear that and take it on board, and it will affect how you feel about yourself as well. Similarly, if you are doing what I said not to do, which is putting yourself down subtly in amongst sentences, the way you communicate to the outside world, not only will they treat you in that way and put you in that box of low self-worth, because that's what you've been portraying, so too will you feel that way, because of course your subconscious is equally hearing it about you, and so will treat you and feel the same way too. So we're not just communicating with the outside world, which is massive, we're also communicating with ourselves. So we need to be saying the right thing for that reason too. So those are two, your thoughts and your language, internally and externally, are very, very important with your confidence building. But one area I don't believe I've covered yet on the podcast is also your communication skills in terms of your body language, because your body communicates as well as your mouth. So don't contradict yourself. So if you have learnt some effective language, you've learnt to use strong wording and nice, confident wording, brilliant, massive pat on your back. But don't then go and contradict yourself by using weak, lack of confidence body language, because other people's subconscious will pick up on that. We pick up on signs, cues and clues from other people in terms of what they're saying through their body language. We communicated via body language a lot earlier than we ever had verbal skills. That was the main means by which we communicated with each other thousands of years ago, and we still do. So actually the majority of our communication is not verbal. It's not the words that we use. That's a small part of our communication. most of it is non-verbal. It's the body language and the tone and the pitch of our voice and how we say what we say. So that is as important. So you can also improve your confidence skills by focusing and learning on learning better body language. So if you've been working through these podcasts on changing your mindset and your internal dialogue, well done. That is excellent, and I completely support you on that. If on top of that you've also been mindfully working on your communication skills and the language that you use, then that too is a massive tick, massive pat on your back for that, and I'm completely behind you on that. Put the two together and you'll come up a level much sooner. It will impact on everything, your work, your productivity, your success, your relationships, and more importantly on how you feel in your own self. The icing on the cake, or perhaps we could call it that, or the other part to that puzzle is focusing on your body language. Do all three and you will go leagues and leagues ahead in terms of development. It will help you in every area of your life. So my tip for this week, the key takeaway from this week is really start to concentrate on your body language. Start to be aware of it first. And that is always my theme, isn't it, in previous podcasts, that awareness is half the battle. The moment you listen to this, I've raised this now in your mind. So I suspect you're already looking at your body language now. You're already considering it. I've tapped in, hooked into your brain and made you aware of it. Where are you at the moment? Are you sitting? Are you standing? Are you walking? Where are you listening to this? And just come out of your own brain and see yourself. See if you can sort of float out of yourself and look back at you. How are you sitting or standing? How are you walking if you're walking? If you're on the train, are you slumped down, etc., etc.? So first, it's awareness. What is your body language doing? What do you habitually do? Because a lot of this you will do automatically without really thinking. So really, I suppose there's a very easy rule of thumb. Confident people take up some space. Lack of confidence people make themselves go small because they feel small in the world. Also, I've said be self-aware and take note of what you're doing, but also watch other people. So if you are on a train or you are walking around in a park or down the high street or whatever, or you're sitting somewhere publicly, maybe you're in a coffee shop listening to this on headphones or something like that, look around and start thinking, do they look confident? I don't know that person, but from where I'm sitting, do I believe they're fairly confident? How out of 10 would I score them in terms of their confidence? Do they self-doubt? Are they below at 5? And low confidence, or do I think the way they're holding their body, their self, do they ooze confidence? And why do you think that? Looking at that person, what is it that they're doing? What is it about their stance and their posture that makes you feel this total stranger is a confident person? So be self-aware and notice what you are doing, and be aware of others. Good and bad. Notice those that you believe look quite timid, quite shy, quite apologetic for themselves in the world, or those that look like they're owning the space and they believe in themselves. And what is it that makes you believe that of them? Because you know nothing about them other than what they are showing in terms of body language. You may not even be able to hear the words they're saying from where you are. And those that you realise, he looks really confident, she looks really confident, that one doesn't. And you break down what it is about them that makes you think that, you can start mimicking them and role modelling them. Great way to learn any skill is to model somebody that's already doing it well. So as I said, the golden rule really is that confident people make themselves go large. They use up space. So if you are able now, if you're in a place that you could do this, or pause it and get to a place where you could happily and comfortably do this, stand up for a second, and I want you to stand with your feet hip width apart. So a good space between, not really wide, but hip width apart between your feet. And tilt your pelvis forward slightly under. And imagine you've got a metal rod going down your back, keeping your back very straight. And that automatically, if you imagine like a broom handle going down from the back of your neck all the way down to the base of your spine, that makes your shoulders go back slightly so that your shoulder blades are pulling in towards each other. So you're nice and upright, feet hip width apart, shoulders back, tilt your chin up just slightly. Confident people have their chin up just slightly, and head up. And imagine, keep your head up. Imagine you've got a kind of cord coming from the top of your head, pulling you up to the ceiling, lifting you up so that your neck has got a nice space between your shoulders. There's a full neck, your head's up, your chin's slightly up, and you're looking around. Conversely, somebody who lacks confidence will often look down. They will look down at the table if they're at a board meeting or something like that, down at their hands in their lap, down at their feet if they're standing, down at the ground. Do you remember, younger listeners may not remember this so well, but when Princess Diana first came on the scene, when she was first seeing Prince Charles, she came across as incredibly timid and shy. And why was that? What made us think that? That's those first few shots of the press hounding her and chasing her after the going to a car to find out is she or isn't she dating Prince Charles. Well, if you remember, she kind of tilts her head to one side and she's looking down, and even when she's looking up, her head is still looking and facing down to the ground, and she kind of just looks up under her fringe, kind of, although her whole body is leaning forward and down to the ground, her eyes try and look up, so she looks up under her fringe. She looks very timid that way, whereas confident people lift their whole head up and free their neck, and their shoulders are down, and they'll look you in the eye. So that's another one, eye contact. So not only is your head up and you've got that thread pulling you up to the ceiling, you've got your shoulders back so that your shoulder blades are pulling towards each other, your pelvis is tilted just slightly under, and your feet are hip width apart. You instantly, if you try this now, stand up like this now, and add to it actually. So as you're looking up, put your eyes up and look at the ceiling. You're much more creative when your eyes are up, much more emotional when they're down. You can't cry when your eyes are up. It's very hard for the tears to drop, but you can. They flow easily if you look downwards and look sad. But look up and now put a massive Cheshire Cat grin on your face. That all feels great. And now actually, if you're in a place where you can do this, say out loud now the words, God, I feel depressed. It actually doesn't feel right. It does not feel right. Feels completely wrong. Because your body language is telling you something. Whereas if you keep doing that and look up with the Cheshire Cat grin on your face and on your feet planted nice and firmly on the ground and your pelvis tilted forward and say, God, I feel great, that actually feels much more in keeping. That does feel authentic. That does feel right. So we can fake our body language, even if inside we're very nervous and very frightened and we're doing a presentation and very anxious about that, or we're in an interview or something. We can fake our body language and it actually makes us feel more confident. So not only does it look more confident to the person that's interviewing us or our audience if we're presenting or whatever it is we're doing, you actually feel it. So it's a win-win. On top of that, or on the other side of that, if you were to now put your feet together, and put your shoulders down and forward and slump them down, and put your head, face the ground, look down at the ground, have a miserable face and a droopy, don't smile, a downward smile, a grumpy face, looking down, hands close to your side or maybe crossed over in front of you, or put your hands together, and now say, God, I feel great. You actually don't. In fact, if you say instead, I feel really depressed, you do a little bit. So that is the posture the lacking in confident people will adopt. They will make themselves go small, the feet together, or even crossed over, hands together, or in their pockets, hiding them. That's what that tells the other person, that you're hiding your hands. Confident people keep their hands out, using nice and appropriate hand movements. Whereas if you're nervous, we often put our hands in our pockets or cross our arms. We make ourselves visibly go small. We use up much more space, much less space and oxygen, as it were, in the world. We go really small, slump down, or if we're seated, we'll cross over our arms, we'll cross our legs. We're small in the chair as well, maybe slumped. Don't do that. If you're seated, sit upright. You can still do the upright position. You can still imagine that cord in the top of your head, pulling your head upwards. You can still have your shoulders back and down. You're just sitting nice and upright in the chair. Keep your hands out. If you're at a meeting table, you're around the board table at work or something, and you want to come across as confident, you can do all of these things seated. Lean forward slightly, or lean to the side in the arm of the chair and put your elbows out on both arms of the chair itself, using up space. So the key really is use up more space, especially if you're small. Women do this. I'm very small, height wise and everything, but it's that kind of Superwoman. Do you remember Superwoman stance where she stood with her legs apart and her hands on her hips? She was Superwoman. She was using up space, making herself go bigger. So that kind of position makes us go wider and own more of the environment. And so we can do that when we're seated. We can put our elbows out and sit comfortably, looking confident and comfortable in the chair, in the meeting with that customer or with your boss or whatever it is. You can sit forward and look interested. Now, I've mentioned already that eye contact is key. Have eye contact. Now, I work with a lot of teenagers, and they often have self-doubt and anxiety and things like that, and they're learning to build that. And I'll say you need to have eye contact, because a lot of teenagers, particularly the younger ones that I work with, they don't feel confident and comfortable necessarily sitting opposite each other in my room, working together and having full-on eye contact. When I'm preparing youngsters for interviews, they sometimes find that uncomfortable, but it is necessary. It comes across as more confident. And if they are genuinely struggling with that, maybe they've got their autistic tendencies, or they're on the spectrum or something, they feel awkward and uncomfortable and they genuinely don't like having eye contact, then I say to overcome that, look in between the eyes at the nose, the bridge of the nose of the other person. That feels far less threatening for them to do that. So I don't say have eye contact, I say look at the bridge of their nose, whereas the receiver of that eye contact doesn't know that they're doing that. It's not apparent. So eye contact is a great body language skill or tip. The more body language, the more confident you feel, more comfortable in your own skin you will feel and appear. So keep your chin up and your head up. Have good eye contact, but not so intense without blinking that it puts the other person off. So nice relaxed eye contact. So as you're talking to them and you're thinking and talking, look up to recall something. Look away for a split second. Break it comfortably. Don't have it intensely and not blinking. So blink, look around a little tiny bit and move them around. Or look down towards their mouth, back up to the bridge of their nose, things like that. Smiling is a great one as well, because the more confident you are, the more relaxed you are and able to smile. So it gives off a message to the world that you're comfortable in your own skin, you're relaxed, you're happy. Whereas when we're nervous and lack confidence, we often frown because we're nervous. But what that does to the receiver, they misinterpret that as cold, standoffish, unfriendly. A frown looks unfriendly. A smile looks friendly. So we've got to make ourselves smile more. And I know I've covered that in previous episodes, but it really is a huge communication tip. It communicates so much to the world. So if you can make yourself smile, and if you're nervous and you're building on this and you may forget, then that tip that I've given before to try and remind ourselves to do anything without the rest of the world knowing we're trying to remember to do something, such as smile in an interview, then I say, what you could do is swap your watch over to the wrong hand. So if you always wear it on your left arm, put it on your right arm, because you will keep being aware of that. It will feel wrong, but it's the reminder, I must remember to smile. So if you're trying to remember all of this and it's quite overwhelming, and then do the tip with the watch, and it's an indication to you every time you realize your watch is on the wrong hand. I need to relax my face muscles, relax my eyebrows, so stop frowning and smile. And the more you practice it, the more relaxed you will get. And this is only at first. So just keep concentrating on mustn't frown, I must relax the muscles in my face. So if you're sat in a meeting and you're nervous and everybody's talking and you're aware, right, I need to think about my body language, nice relaxed position, sit upright with my arms and elbows out a little bit, leaning forward a little bit, having eye contact with everybody around the table, and smile and relax my face muscles, stop frowning. So those sorts of things. So size, i.e. take up the room. Height, go upright. Look at others' eyes and use the power of the smile. Cannot overemphasize how important that is. When you're using hand actions, which I've mentioned already, the open palms, the palms up, is claimed to give an illusion of honesty. So if you're doing a presentation, or father of the bride, or best man, or you're in an interview, not just hand actions like the weather girls do and weather guys do on the TV, but make sure the hand is upright so that you're revealing the palm. That goes back to the caveman days where you were showing you had empty hands and no weapons. You're not a threat. So it not only gives you the illusion of honesty, it also makes you appear more confident. So that's another little tip if you didn't have enough already to remember. And as I've said, keeping your hands visible is another sign that you're not hiding anything. So when we weren't able to communicate years ago and it was all just body language, it showed that you weren't hiding any weapon or going to harm somebody. So again, now it gets interpreted as nerves if we're putting them in our pocket. It's almost self-comforting as well, that we're making ourselves go small, keeping our hands warm, hidden in our pockets, but it doesn't ooze confidence. It gives off a message actually that you're uncomfortable or you're unsure. Same with crossing your arms. It has a similar sort of negative effect really. It gives them the impression that you're closed off, that you're blocking and protecting. I know some of us like to sit with our arms crossed. I actually do. I find it really comfortable. I like it. It's a natural position for me, and I get that, but it can be misread as unreceptive and closed off. So I have to be aware of it and choose my moments. And that's, as I've said, half the battle is being aware, is self-awareness. And that reminds me actually that that was appropriate, wasn't it? Freud would read into that. Try and cut out the ums and the ers to try and get rid of those filler words, because they're filler words for when you're thinking. And you can do that by certain ways. You can sort of repeat what they've just said or make a comment like, that's interesting, rather than and the word that I hate at the moment that all the teenagers use is like. I said to him, like, I'll be there about like 3 o'clock. I can't bear that. And all that's going to do, you're going to have to, they, or youngsters, if it's you, are going to have to try and stop that eventually anyway, because it's not good business language in the adult world. It just doesn't go down well at all. So try, if you can, to not even get into it in the first place, because it is habitual. My teenage children don't even know that they're saying it now. It's just part of their language, but it's not helpful. They're not actually, the word isn't meaning anything. It's not adding to the communication. It's not adding to the content. So if you can work on missing out the ers and the ums and the likes and things like that, then focus on good words, strong words, putting good mix of words in there, and gosh, that's interesting, or wow, I hadn't thought of that point before. That's buying you time, but it's not lots of ums and ers. The other tip as well, if you're not confident, is if you're in an environment where you're having to mix and mingle and do that kind of networking thing with new people, whether it's at work or at a networking event or at a party socially, and you're anxious because you're not that confident. The tip is you be interested rather than you trying to be interesting. So the tip is to just get them talking. Be really good listener with them and ask them more questions about what they're giving you. It takes the limelight off you. You don't have to be thinking about things. And humans love to talk about themselves. So if you appear much more engaged, really interested in them, and lots of nodding and appreciative noises, oh wow, gosh, and nod, they'll keep talking. So it's if you're more focused on the other person and what their message is, or what they're trying to communicate to you, then you can be less self-conscious about you and what you want to or don't want to bring to the conversation, or how you're next going to carry on with it. Just let them do it. A lot of people then think you're very, very confident because you stood there and listened to them. Lots of people wrongly, perhaps, not always, but wrongly perceive you as, God, really nice guy, so interesting, really confident. Actually, you've barely said a word, you've listened to them. So if you act as if you're confident, so you will become. And if you change your body language, you will change how you feel. And if you change what you're saying, those people will respond differently. So, and you can take the limelight and the pressure off yourself at one of those potentially nerve-wracking environments where you don't know very many people, just by asking them a couple of questions, get them talking on a subject that they clearly love and passionate about, and then just be interested. And that will really, really help. They may then realise you've not said much, ask you a question, and it gives you the chance to open up. So you've not had to think of that subject matter. So that's my tip for this week, is really, really, really focus on your body language. And we can all do with being aware of it. We can all improve it, even if you just improve one thing. So resisting the temptation whenever you're standing in a group, resisting the temptation to cross your legs. It's actually very bad for your hip flexors anyway, and the ball and whatever socket that we've got in our hips. It's not good for that. It's good to stand with them just standing forward because of that ball in that socket. So good luck, have a good go, and see how it helps you to feel confident. You can practice this anywhere. You can practice this in the queue when you're in the supermarket. You can practice it when you're in the queue in the coffee shop, or being served in the canteen, or wherever you are at work. Just keep practicing it, and the more practice you throw in, the more it will become routine. And it can do you no harm to have good, positive, confident body language. It will, and notice whether people start to treat you differently. So play with it. No one needs to know that you're doing it. So, and notice confident people and what they're doing and what you like, and mimic them. And notice not so confident people and why and what are they doing, and stop yourself from repeating it. So enjoy the week, Go and have a really, really confident week and work on all of it, but particularly this. And share your successes with me. Drop me a line, dawn@milestone-coaching.co.uk, and let me know what's been useful. Also, feel free to drop me a line if there is a particular subject you would like me to cover. Other than that, I just wish you a really, really strong, confident week. All the best.